Bible passage today is from Proverbs 31, verses 10 through to 31. It's called The Wife of Noble Character. A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still night. She provides food for her family and portions for her female servants. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her tasks. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff and grasps the spindle with her fingers. She opens her arms to the poor and extends her hands to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed and is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchants with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of the household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. We're going to finish our sermon series through the book of Proverbs today, and as we do, I'd like to reacquaint you with two women that we met when we first talked about the book of Proverbs. They are called Woman Folly and Woman Wisdom, and I wonder if you remember them. Woman Folly is this woman calling from the high place in the city, the temple, inviting the simple-minded to a quick thrill and a quick fix. She looks charming, she looks alluring on the surface, but when you accept her invitation, you walk into a room of bones and dead bodies, and your feet are on the path to destruction. That was the message of Proverbs about the woman called Folly. In contrast, the other woman is the woman called Wisdom. And she is confident, she is extroverted, she calls out also from the temple area, and she also calls the simple-minded, inviting them to find wisdom and insight and self-control, because this is the path to life and the way to navigate the pitfalls of our world wisely and well. And so we found these two women in the first 9 chapters of Proverbs. But as we journey through the book of Proverbs beyond that point, we realize something. Yes, these two women are symbols, but there are also real people like them who live what these symbols represent. These are the women and men that we find in the world around us, often in our daily lives, who live out both wisdom or foolishness, right? We find that there are people in our world today who are lazy, or who gossip, or who commit adultery, or in some ways follow the incarnation of this woman Folly. And they're found right throughout the book of Proverbs, and they're found right throughout our world as well, aren't they? They live on our street. We stand next to them in the grocery aisle. We see their posts on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all those sorts of places. But equally, while woman wisdom is also a symbol, and we've found earlier she is a personification of an aspect of God himself. There are people who look a lot like her, those who have chosen to adopt the characteristics of wisdom in their life. And these people serve us coffee in our cafes, and they talk to us in our offices and those sorts of things too. We find them all around our world as well. And so we come to the final chapter in Proverbs, chapter 31, and we read of a woman who shows us what wisdom looks like with skin on, so that we might recognize this kind of person when we see her or see them. And as we read about this woman, we need to remember a few things. Wisdom is above all practical in the book of Proverbs. And so we see a woman who is a doer, right? It doesn't talk about this woman who loves long romantic walks along the beaches and poetry readings and those sorts of things, because that's not what wisdom is all about. This is a woman who takes the world around her and molds it and reshapes it for good in her ways, for her and for the lives of those around her. And as you read through all these things this Wonder Woman does, you will find that she embodies almost all the practical characteristics that the rest of Proverbs has been speaking about. And so Proverbs has been speaking about being found trustworthy. Is this woman trustworthy? Reliable? Absolutely she is. She has the full confidence of those around her. Is this woman energetic? Because, the Proverbs have been speaking about not being lazy, but getting into life. Yes, this woman is profoundly energetic. She is the Energizer Bunny woman, right? She is up early in the morning when it is still dark, doing jobs around the house. She's still up late at night when it is again dark, working under the flickering lights of the lamps, being industrious. She's very energetic. Proverbs has been speaking about being diligent. Is this woman diligent? Yes. You will never see her sleeping in until noon when there are jobs to be done. Is she bold? Is she strategic? Proverbs has talked about being risk takers in good ways. Strategic. And you'd better believe it. This woman is. She is a property developer. She'll be out there on her one roof app looking at all the possible properties that she can buy to purchase so she can invest money in it to get a good income into the days ahead. So she is bold, she is strategic. Is she strong? Yep, she is physically strong as well, strong in character as well, strong in emotion, strong in every way. She has strength. What about kindness? Hasn't the Proverbs been telling us about how important it is to be kind to those in need around us? And sure enough, what do we find her doing? We find her opening her arms, offering her hands to the poor, giving to them out of her resources, supplying what they lack. Foresight, the ability to look into the future and make plans in advance. Doesn't the Proverbs say, Proverbs 27 verse 12, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty? So what do we find her doing? Preparing for the cold months that are to come, so her family stays nice and warm when the snow starts falling. What about the use of our words? Proverbs has been full of the use of our language and the control of our emotions expressed through the words we use. Proverbs is full of this stuff, and she has this in spades as well. When she opens her mouth, wisdom comes out. When she teaches, it literally says she speaks with kindness. So she uses words well, she controls emotions well. Humility, that's all through the book of Proverbs as well. Yes, praise comes the way of this woman. She is very well thought of. But who is doing the praising? It's not her. The praise comes from the mouth of her family, her kids, her husband, They're praising her. It comes from the mouth of those in her community who can't speak highly enough about her. And above all else, the place that Proverbs starts, the climax of the list, if you like, the one characteristic that will set your feet on the right path, this profound respect and reverence for God that saturates all that happens and is summed up in this phrase, the fear of the Lord. Yes, the woman has this too. This woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. So do you want to see a picture of what wisdom looks like on the ground? The one example perhaps that we can look to see what it looks like, this practical know-it-all, know-how that brings enormous benefits to those around her. This is the picture that is given in Proverbs 31. I wonder how you feel comparing yourself to this woman. Ladies, as you compare yourself to her, do you feel inadequate? Do you feel gasping for air, deflated maybe? Men, how do you feel comparing yourself to this woman? Inadequate, deflated, defeated by contrast? I certainly do. But you must remember this. This picture of the woman is a composite look at wisdom. It's a composite look. I wonder if you have ever looked at a model in a magazine or in a TV advertisement or whatever, and you've said to yourself at some stage in your life, why can't I have those cheekbones? Why can't my butt look like his? Why can't my abs look like hers? Why can't my hands look so beautiful as hers, and her hair the way it flows down so nicely? Oh, if only I had that hair. Do you realize that the same models who were in these photos are also looking at photos of other people and saying, oh, I wish I had that hair. I wish I had that figure. I wish I had those feet. The woman who walks down the catwalk looking so glamorous is saying, I wish I had feet like those feet that I saw on the magazine last night. You won't find a picture of her feet in a woman's magazine because they get specialist foot models for those pictures. Men and women who look plain in every other way, but their feet look absolutely beautiful. The guy who looks so suave in the picture advertising new suits will never advertise watches because his hands are too disproportionate and clumsy and clunky. They get a specialist hand model in to do those particular shoots. And so the picture of beauty that we get sold is unattainable because it is a composite beauty. They get the best parts of 100 different people and take the photos of the best parts and combine them into one image in our mind and says, this is what beautiful looks like. But it is unrealistic because it has been made by so many different people. It is a composite image. And the picture of this woman in Proverbs is also a composite image of wisdom. It is an impossible Wonder Woman. So, why is the picture given? And to answer that question, we need to go right back to the start of this description and discover that it's not really just talking about a woman here. It is talking about a wife. Remember that at the start of Proverbs, we find it was written by a dad to his son. He's writing here again, and he's writing to a son who is journeying through life, journeying through a world where image is everything. And he's saying, look, you can be attuned to charm and beauty and calibrated for good looks, and all that sort of stuff is all around us, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, the Song of Songs book in the Bible makes that really clear. Beauty is a good thing. But charm does not give an accurate picture. And beauty does not stay forever. It disappears, it fades, no matter how expensive the face cream is that we use. What really matters? And the dad is asking that question and answering it for his boy. He's saying, my boy, as you look for a wife, look for what really matters. A woman who is marked by wisdom. And these things are the things that you should look for. And then he goes on and explains this picture of this woman. I don't know if you're a fan of word games, Wordle and the like. Anyone involved in Wordle here? Perhaps you like Sudoku. That's more numbers than words, but do you like acronyms maybe? What does the acronym ROY-GBIV stand for? And if you can reach way back to your primary school years, you'll know that it stands for the colours of the rainbow. ROY-GBIV, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, in that order. And if you can reach back to high school, you might hear or remember the phrase Mrs. Green or Mrs. C. Green, as it is now. That's an acronym that gives us the indicators of life. How do we know something is living? It's because it has Mrs. C. Green: movement, respiration, sensitivity, cells, growth, reproduction, excretion, and nutrition. Okay? What about the acronym BODMAS? If you know maths from school, BODMAS is the acronym that tells us the order with which we process an equation. Look at brackets, then orders, then division, then multiplication, then addition, then subtraction. What about the planets of the solar system? How do you remember those? My very educated mother just served us 9 pizzas. Mars, Venus, Earth, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, right? And so acronyms are really, really useful things, and the key reason they exist is to help us remember things. And so what we find in Proverbs 31 is that it is actually, in some senses, an acronym. Every new sentence in Hebrews 31 begins with the next letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It is basically a checklist that a dad is giving to his son to find a wife whose life is marked by wisdom. And every single sentence starts with the next letter in the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Now, no woman can be all of these things, and I'm sure the dad got that. It is an idealized picture, but it gives his son something to go by, a gauge to measure by, if you like, what to look for, what is important to value. And the father uses this acronym to create this picture of the woman, a checklist on who he will link his life with to make a good decision. And the father also uses some turns of phrase which give us a fascinating glimpse into his concept of relationship. Now, I don't always delve into the original languages, but there are some things said here in Hebrew which don't carry very well into English in our translations. The first sentence is all about strength, not nobility, right? The NIV translation seems to suggest it's about nobility. It is not. It is about strength. It is a military word. It is a word used to describe an army. It's not really a noble woman who can find. It is a strong army woman who can find. It's a word that speaks about courage and valor and military force. And in fact, don't take this the wrong way, but an early Greek translation of the Bible calls this passage how to find a manly woman. Pretty weird, eh? But the sense is, look for strength. If you go down a bit further, we read in Proverbs 31 verse 11, her husband lacks nothing of value. And again, this word is a military word. It is a word for plunder, loot. The husband will lack no loot or things plundered from the world, is kind of the force of this. So what is going on here? The dad is kind of saying to his son, you know what? Life is a struggle. It is a battlefield out there. It is a zoo where nothing comes easy. My hope for you, my boy, is that you find a woman who has got your back, who can take on that world in partnership with you as you take on that world. And so this is a passage where wisdom and Wonder Woman and Wordle kind of all meet together. Does it apply to guys looking to ask a girl on a date? Yeah, absolutely. But it equally applies to the kind of man that a woman should be looking for a romantic relationship as well. Are you looking for a man marked with the characteristics of wisdom? What about business relationships? Does it apply there? Yes, absolutely. Look for business partners who show these kind of qualities. You know, they're diligent, they're not lazy, they're kind, they're ethical. What about the friends you choose to invest in? Does it apply there? Yes. Because at its heart, this passage is talking about those that you choose to link your life with in significant ways. Those you choose to journey with. Because these people will shape your destiny. I mean, just ask that guy called Lot in the Old Testament who decided to live in the city of Sodom. What happened to his destiny because he linked his life with those who were of dubious character. But there's even more to it. Because all through Proverbs, we are faced with this question: how do you live the best possible life? But at the end of the book, in chapter 31, developing a life of wisdom, we are told, also gives us tools to bring goodness to other people. Just think about this woman. Everything she does enriches the lives of those around her. Because wisdom has brought her tools and resources and abilities and opportunities so that she can give out and bless. And that is the missional part of wisdom. Right? Just think what would have happened if the Good Samaritan hadn't been wise enough to pack some oil and wine and extra money in his kit when he went out on his donkey that day. What would have happened to his servant if the Roman centurion hadn't known the wisdom of humility and of courage? What would have happened to the paralyzed man if his friends hadn't known the wisdom of staying strong and fit in order to lift him up those stairs and down into the roof? Or if the father hadn't known the wisdom of forgiveness when he saw his son come walking up the road to his house after going on a blinder of an OE. Are you wise enough to lift up those around you? Has it given you the tools and resources to reveal the heart of Jesus to others more effectively? Because wisdom knows that we are blessed to be a blessing. May we then bless powerfully because we live wisely. Amen.